Well, I am super delighted to have with me today, again, Vanessa de Souza Lage. And it's always an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Vanessa. We've met so many times at conferences and we've talked on the podcast. And so, it's always a bonus for me to have your face on my screen.
You're so kind. Thank you, Heather. Thanks for having me once again.
Not at all. For those of you who have not listened to previous podcasts, or perhaps have not met Vanessa, I'm going to ask you to share your background in short-term rentals because it is quite amazing, and also want to ask you what inspired you to go into your latest startup. I mean, you're like me. We just love to start new businesses.
We do, we do. Always, finding ideas of things that we're missing. So no, I've been in the vacation rental industry for a very, very long time. I think it's 20 years now, something like this. Started off with building an OTA previous to Airbnb, and we had at one point, which was a whooping 8,000 vacation rentals that you could book online worldwide. But this is very early days. And so after that, when Booking.com came along and Airbnb came along with their millions of dollars, it was much harder to make the marketing work. And so we moved on from being an OTA to being a channel manager. And the channel manager was Rentals United, or is Rentals United. And I spent 7 years being the CMO there, co-founder and CMO. And I left in October 21 and then started to think about my next project and spent a year and a half researching what is now Sustonica. Now, Sustonica is the first sustainability validation accreditation badge for vacation rentals. We don't have another one. And I have a special interest in sustainability. One, because I went to a boarding school when I was young, obviously, when I was a child. And we, back then, which is a long time ago again, the boarding school was very much had a focus on sustainable living. So from very early age, I was taught what it means to live, in agreement with the environment, or friendly living, let's say. And so that carried on throughout my life. I've been influencing, families and friends in making sustainable choices. I've been a vegan for quite a long time, and yes, I've always been interested in sustainability. And so when my story with Rentals United finished, I decided I wanted to combine one, being in vacation rentals all this time, having very many contacts, and two, my love for sustainable living. And lucky for me, there was lucky for me, sadly for the industry, there was no real approach, no path, for us to become more sustainable. So this is how Sustonica was born.
So it's interesting you say that, this is the very first one because hotels have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember going to hotels in 20 years ago where, you had you used a towel and you flung it out and they replaced it every single day. You got new towels and often they would change the beds. And nowadays, they've gone through this period of training their guests, I guess, into greener practices. So now I go to a hotel, towels get reused. Mm-hmm. And I don't expect somebody to come in and turn my bed down or change the bed every day.
Yeah.
So we have been, I think, over the course of a period of time in hotels, we have been trained. And first of all, why do you think the vacation rental industry has lagged behind for so long? And do you think that guests are trainable?
Yeah, no, I do think they're trainable. Absolutely, I do. But to the lack of, I think there's been a lack of awareness in the vacation rental world, and also a lack of guidelines. At the VIMA last year, I wasn't there, but I was told there was not one panel about sustainability. not one. So we really lack talking about it as an industry. We like the guidelines. I mean, the fact that we have very strong certification bodies for the hotel world, this has helped hotels, in their past to becoming more eco-friendly, etc. And we haven't had that in the vacation rental world, so that's been missing. Also, there's a question of resources. There's limited resources that we have as property managers compared to the big hotel industry, and because it can cost, like, to get certified, it can cost like tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the size of the hotel to get certified, and also I think there's been guest expectations. In the past, very much before Airbnb, really, vacation rentals were seen as a way to travel cheaply. They're cheaper than hotels because you go as a group, etc. So it was like a budget vacation. And this has completely changed thanks to, I think, mainly Airbnb, who's really put this local experience and living like a local, and has changed the perceptions of vacation rentals. So now there can be a wider focus on being more eco-friendly. COVID as well changed that, so guest expectations are changing. They do expect the same kind of things they see in hotels, this focus in vacation rentals too, and we haven't done it yet.
Well, it sounds like guests are actually looking for it as well. And I wanted to draw the audience's attention to the latest report from the sustainability report from Booking.com. Now, last year I talked with Bob Garner of Enviro Rental about the 2022 report, which had some great statistics. And as I said in the introduction, I'm really loving these statistics. And one of them was, it just sort of jumped out, a whopping 74% of responders want to see more eco-friendly options. So these are the people who are going to vacation rentals. They are our clients, our customers, our guests, and they're asking for these things. So what opportunities does this create for managers and hosts?
Yes. Well, firstly, competitive advantage, right? There are not very many property managers who have put sustainability as part of their brand pillars. Very few, in fact. And so by showing that you taking this very seriously, you gain competitive advantage, and in very many markets, also first to market. You'll be first to market that your properties are environmentally friendly. We can't really say, you will have increased bookings at this stage because we don't have the stats. Booking.com, we will have seen from the report, will not give us this. However, I think by the time we have the next report, this will come out. This will come out that yes, if you have an apartment, a similar apartment, at the same price, with similar amenities, let's say, and the same location, if one was sustainable and the other one was not, which one do you think the guests would choose? It's very likely that they will choose the one that has sustainable features. So yeah, for these reasons, I think we should jump on the wagon. Also, there's a reduced costs, just cost saving by implementing energy saving appliances, for example, water saving measures. You do reduce on costs, so that makes a lot of sense for hosts, especially to look at how they run their homes.
Yeah, I think there is the thought that doing all these things, that's going to cost us money. We're going to have to spend money on changing out all our light bulbs, which you should have already done anyway. Yeah. But we're going to implement new things that are going to cost us money, and I think it's really worthwhile looking at the other side of it, that it's actually going to save you money in the long term. So if it's an initial cost, you're going to reap the benefits later, not only with that cost saving, but with hopefully more people booking.
Yeah, I mean, there are very simple things that you can do that don't require investment. For example, one of the most important things that you can do, and ranked really highly in our criteria is to change your energy to 100% renewable. And that is, in most cases, a phone call to your energy provider saying, I want to switch to 100% renewable. And that doesn't cost any more. It's a phone call. It's a bit of time, let's say. But there are very many things, and I think we lay them down quite clearly in the criteria on the website that you can do that do not cost money.
Well, let's talk about those. Let's talk about those criteria. How were your what's in the criteria? How were they created? And I noticed on your website you have this really nice little graphic, which is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So, can you expand on that a little bit? And let's tell people what these different criteria are and how they can meet those goals.
Yeah, sure. So the United Nations have come up after very many years of research with 17 sustainable development goals. And these are applicable for all sorts of businesses, not just tourism businesses, for business as a whole, and for the world as a whole. And so when we developed the criteria for Sustonica, we obviously based it on these goals. And they look at water conservation, energy conservation, waste reduction, and at community. So we can follow 10 out of these 17 goals. And it's very interesting to go through these 17 goals, I think, and to check out the United Nations website, because they have really actual tips on what you can do to follow a more sustainable lifestyle. And as businesses, we have a responsibility, right? And especially in tourism, we create a lot of CO2. So and people won't stop traveling. So we have to do our part. And so we were able to apply 10 of these goals to our criteria. And we also followed so many abbreviations. The GSTC criteria, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council criteria, which manages to put a framework together for all tourism businesses, also based on the United Nations goals. So it all starts with the United Nations goals, and then you have these different bodies that look at how to enforce it for different industries. So in tourism, it's the GSTC, and we now also have the Travelist framework. But I don't want to go into too much details, but there are bodies looking at how we can reduce our impact in tourism. So yeah, that's what we're based on. And there's about 40 criteria depending on the type of property that you have. So
well, let's take out one of these goals and break it down, because I've done the test on your website, and I found it quite fascinating because it breaks it down into very small, achievable criteria. And just something simple like, do you provide reusable bags?
Reusable shopping bags.
Shopping bags, yes. Yeah, that's, oh gosh, I can tick that box, because yes, of course I provide. I remember going years ago to a vacation rental in Exuma, I think, and as you do when you go into a new kitchen, you open every single drawer.
Yeah.
I mean, all I do, I open every drawer and every cabinet in a rental property. I've got to check everything out. I've just rented this place, so unless it's locked, I'm looking in it. And I remember there were 3 drawers in the kitchen, and they were and they were big drawers, and they were all jam packed with plastic bags, shopping bags.
There you go. That's what we want to avoid. And I think it also gives, one, it's good for the guests that they see that you're doing this, you're providing shopping bags that they can take to the shop. But also, by reading the criteria, you realize, okay, let me not forget my own shopping bag when I go out and go shopping. Because why take plastic bags? I mean, many cities now forbid it, and hopefully this will be worldwide one day or another. But meanwhile, go take a shopping basket to go shopping.
Let's take one of the goals and just lay out what those criteria are within that section.
Okay, which goal would you like?
No, I'm going to leave it to you to choose. I'm going to come back to the community one later on, because that's particularly interesting. But they're all interesting. But let's look at any one of them.
Shall we look at water conservation?
Yes, for sure.
Goal number 14. I'll take my notes. And so, for example, here we have: are your bed linen and towels eco-friendly? Right, so not very many people have this today. I found out, and basically, your towels and your eco linen should be made out of organic cotton, of linen, the material, or bamboo, and processed using environmentally friendly methods, such as low impact dyes. Right, so this will be one. Then, do you offer green cleaning products? This is such an easy change to make. Every supermarket now will have green cleaning products on offer, and also you can, if you're a property manager, you can buy them in bulk and replace what you're currently using or what you're currently leaving for guests in the rental. Your shampoo and shower gel, are they free of microplastics? I know you had a look at the app yesterday.
Yes, that was fascinating. That was completely fascinating that you can get an app that will scan a barcode on a bath product and see if there's any microplastics in it.
Yeah, it actually scans the ingredients. It doesn't scan it scans the ingredients.
Okay.
It does it very cleverly. And there you see if this shower gel or this shampoo has microplastics. Microplastics is irreversible, what we're doing with microplastics. And the cosmetic industry is really very much at fault here for sticking microplastics because they're cheap, in order to fill the product. So, if you can avoid them, avoid them. And life below water. What else do we have from life below water? We have, if you have a pool, if you have a pool, swimming pool, or a hot tub, is it being naturally filtered? So sand filters, biofilters, ozone generators. This is what we're looking at. In clean water and sanitation, which is related to water, goal number 6, are your showers water efficient? And if they're not, then install a small valve that will cost you, $5 in order to make it water efficient. Are you collecting rainwater if you have a garden? Rainwater collection method, and use it to water your plants. These are all very simple things to do. Very simple, and it's just putting your mind through it. And obviously, we're looking at, does the washing machine, does it have an eco setting? Does the dishwasher have an eco setting? And things like, are the toilet water efficient? Do we have 2 buttons in the toilet? Things like this.
Well, let's think about. Well, let's go to, in fact, the quiz or the test that people can access on the Sustonica website, because I'm hoping after this that everybody who's listening is going to go to the Sustonica website and take that test. Yes. Regardless of what you're going to do with it, go take the test, because I think it's quite an eye opener. It doesn't. And tell me about the criteria to actually achieve accreditation, because I was going through that and I'm thinking, no, I'm not achieving all of these, and it was almost like, well, do I bother going on? Because I've left some blanks. And then I did see that you do not have to be 100% compliant with everything to get accredited.
That's right.
How much do you have to do?
So in order to get the badge, we want to encourage people to start their sustainability journey. So we put the bar quite low. We put it to 20%. And there are very many easy things that you can do also in the community respect, if you want to talk about it later. And things that property managers can do, things that owners can do. But we put it to 20% because we want people to start looking into this world and start thinking about making their homes more eco-friendly. And so the bar is low, but what we do require is that next year, when you pass it again, you will increase. You will increase at least a percentage, and that's what we're after. So you're starting your sustainability journey with us, and you're starting to look at these things, and then we ask you to increase it in a year. You have a year to make one more change, let's say.
That is brilliant, because that was one of my questions. It doesn't appear to be that challenging to meet that 20%, and how are you going to encourage owners to go beyond that minimum? But you've just answered that, and I think that's a great step, because I'm assuming you're going to remind people beforehand.
Of course, I will.
Yes.
Yes,
my little brain, my startup brain is going, oh my gosh, I can see all these different ways when you can motivate people to get going on this, and make it exciting to get to the next level, because we all love that. We do games all the time, and there's that desire to get to the next level. So,
but we don't have levels within the badge. We had them, and we took them off. Why? Because people were competing. They were like, I don't want to get just the committed badge. I want the exceptional badge. Right. And so I'm going to make some changes and I'll come back to it. Sorry. I'll make some changes and I'll come back to it. And we don't want that. We want you to start now, and we want you to, put your mind to it and get into this world, and reaping all the benefits that it has to get into the world.
It's still motivating. Yes, I understand about levels, but it's just motivating to say, okay, I got to 20% this year, and I can when I redo the test, I'm going to get above that number, which is wonderful. Can you tell us about any, share any stories you have about properties that have actually done this? They've achieved the recognition, and what are they doing that's setting them apart?
I have a wonderful example for you. One of our ambassadors in France, our first ambassador in France, who has 90 properties in the region of Annecy. You've been to Annecy.
I didn't go to Annecy to vacation rental to Antonio's summit, unfortunately, but it looked gorgeous.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And in this region, she has 90 rentals. And she was our first, or she is our first ambassador. And she did it for reasons that I thought were very interesting. Mainly because she looks at her business, her property management business, in the long term, right? She's not in for the quick cash. She's in for the long term. She wants to build a business that is resilient and that will survive anything that comes to it. So surviving, one of the very important aspects of surviving is regulations, right? As you know, Heather. And so she needs to look to her local regulators, her local tourism board, the local government, as a good property manager. So she does everything in a good way, but on top of that, she wanted to show that not only does she do everything in a good way, and pays her employees what they need to be paid, and has licenses and all the rest. Also, she has a sustainability aspect. And so what she did, she passed the badge for I think we're on about 50 of her properties, and invited the local tourism board and the local mayor, to come and check out these properties and what they have in terms of sustainability. And that was a huge success. I mean, they're completely on board. They think it's wonderful what she's doing. And so now she has another thing under her wing to say that she has a good business, and she attracts good guests that are thinking about being environmentally friendly. I'm going to trash the place and etc. Literally. So yes. So I think that's a really nice example.
Yeah, I love that idea of doing these things and then sharing it. Waving your flag and saying, this is what I'm doing. Don't keep it under wraps. And I guess that goes to websites and having a page on your website that says this is what I do. And I know Bob Garner's website for remind me, Casal de Fiki. Hey, nearly. I nearly got that one right. And I know his website is, there's a huge focus on eco-friendliness, sustainability within that website. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes too, because for anybody who's looking at starting this journey, then it's Bob is such a great role model for
He's
this.
been the first to talk about sustainability in our world, and the only until I arrived. So now we're quite a few,
Yes, and Deborah Larby with the Green Path podcast now,
and Nikki Matei, who is a marketing specialist, and yes, I mean, I think that very many people are doing things already, and they just fail to show it.
Yes.
Do this, but just I haven't communicated it to anyone, and yes, knowing how to communicate and to show off, and with it influence, I think this is the wonderful power that we have in the vacation rental world, because we have about 10 million vacation rentals is accepted, this number is accepted, that we have 10 million vacation rentals in the world, and it would be amazing if 10 million vacation rentals will run their business, in a sustainable fashion. But on top of it, we get 450 million travelers that go through our homes every year. So if we can influence them to make a difference in their own way of living, then we have a real impact. We have a real positive impact on the world as property managers and as owners.
So taking that a step further. So what incentives could property managers and owners use to encourage travellers to choose more eco-friendly options for travel? So really, this is the sort of the training aspect of it.
I think OTAs here have a huge responsibility, right? They're already doing things. They have eco-friendly filters, and they're offering carbon offsets and things like this. They provide information. They have a big responsibility in bringing this out. And I think they will bring it out more and more. And quite honestly, where I think it's going with this is that just like you can't advertise on an OTA if you don't have a license number, you won't be able to advertise on an OTA if you're not proving that you're doing things in a sustainable fashion. And I think that's where we're going. So it will be enforced coming up. And in terms of property management today, I mean, really, I would really work on your website. If you think sustainability is important and is important for your guests, which I'm telling you, it is important, then do the work on your own website. Do the work, work on your About Us page. Point your homepage to your About Us page. This is why you can trust us. This is why we're eco-friendly, etc. This work has to be done. And bring out what it is in the home that makes it an eco-friendly option. Working on your website, I think, is the main thing that property managers can do.
Well, there was another statistic in the Booking.com survey said 44% of travellers are unsure of how to find more sustainable options for travel. So that I guess that's showing that we're not being as visible with these things. And it's not just a tick in a box. You've got to take it the next step and shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some niche OTAs that focus on just that, but they're niche, and as it's tough for the niche websites. So really, it's the OTAs have to make an even bigger effort that they're doing now, and Booking.com is leading the way here, and the others are they need to follow and faster.
Yeah. I want to come back to the I'm jumping about a bit here, but I want to come back to the criteria, because this is the one that really interested me, was about community, because this is what everybody could do today, with just by sitting at your computer.
That's right. Yes.
And so tell me about the community criteria and what that means for people who are working on a website right now.
Yeah, so the community criteria, so we're not just looking at, sustainability is a very big topic right? We're not just looking at the environmentally friendliness of your home. We're looking at how you promote the destination and how you support the community. So the examples that we gave earlier was in terms of water conservation. As a property manager, you might think, well, I don't have access to this. I can't do this. And the owner has to take care of it. Our criteria, because it is thought for the industry, is really looked at things that the owner can do and things that the property manager can do. So in terms of the guidebook, we expect that you have a digital guidebook for one, and that you promote, that you work on it in order to promote things like locally sourced food stores, a list of local vegetarian restaurants, list of organic food restaurants, list of local volunteering work, which I've seen very rarely in guidebooks, list of local heritage sites to make sure that these heritage sites do not die off, list of off the beaten path sites, and one of my favorites is not part of the guidebook actually, but it's part of the community support, and that is, do you showcase local artists? Mm-hmm. So do you have art in your home, and do you say who this art is from, and how the guest may purchase it, or at least visit the artist, visit the gallery, etc.
Yeah, so, yeah. I love that one. Yeah, I remember years ago going to a vacation rental in Sedona, and they had the most amazing pottery in there, but there was no real identification of where it came from. And I had to go back to the owner and say, where did this come from? And she said, oh yes, it's a local place in Sedona. And I thought, well, why did you not share this? Yeah. But that's it's as simple as that. People are looking around the place. They're seeing the nice touches you put in there, and if you're furnishing it and using local artisans to put things in there, is just have a list. And I love that you said, if you haven't got the digital guidebook is a must. Yes, the days of the dog-eared welcome book on the table are really gone now.
Hopefully. And so that bringing your own linen and towels.
Yes.
Same box.
Still happens in Ontario,
That's right. We're telling you. Still a year later.
Well, still 20 years later since I said, no, we've got to stop doing this. And it's like 20 years later. No, they can bring their own sheets. Mm-hmm. I'm not using mine. So, what else did I want to ask? Lots. I've got so many questions. Yes. What are your future goals for Sustonica?
Well, we want to reach the 10 million vacation rentals. For sure. This is what we're aiming at. And I guess we have criteria now. We have 3 criteria for different types of properties. So city apartments and townhouses, country homes with pool. So that's 3. And since we launched, we have had requests from houseboats, from glamping properties, tree houses, camping sites, all sorts of businesses that do not have a badge, that do not have a way of showing that they are doing things the correct way. And so they've been approaching us. So my idea is that for now we have 3, and we focus on these 3, and then we will grow. We will grow, and we aim to touch more and more verticals within the vacation rental industry, basically.
Brilliant. So just reminded me of something I was going to touch on when we were talking about community, and you said volunteers. And so I'm just stepping back a little bit, because I love that idea of promoting, because volunteerism is yet another growing travel market, I guess. People want to go places and go volunteering. So if you are if you're a property manager and or an owner, and I'll give you one example. This is a lady I mention a lot on the podcast, and she's probably going to be shaking her head when I say Shireen McClellan again. She has a property called Western Star Bungalow in Kanab in Utah, and a lot of people have probably never heard of this, and it is close by a massive animal sanctuary called Best Friends Animal Sanctuary, which is one of the biggest animal sanctuaries in the US. And people come from all over the world to volunteer at this animal sanctuary. And so she promotes this on her website. If you're volunteering, you can come stay here. And I've always loved that. And I mention Shireen all the time in this context, because you don't hear much about anybody else promoting the volunteer aspect of a stay.
Yeah. And there's so much you can do in cities as well. Who was posting recently that they've been collecting plastics in Amsterdam from the river, and you spend the morning, you meet people, and you leave. You've had a wonderful vacation, but you also leave feeling you've done something good. You've done something good for the local community. And so this is what we want to encourage. We want to encourage our property managers to actually go and look at all these options that they have and make sure that they share this with their guests.
Yeah, it takes me back to being, I spent my winter down in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and it was my first Christmas away from the family. First Christmas without the kids, and I loved it. Yeah, we had steak and fries for Christmas dinner. It was fantastic. I didn't spend all day in the kitchen. I love my family. I love the 20 years we've had Christmas dinners with them. But it got me thinking, and I didn't think enough about it because I didn't find information. And I thought, I'm going to be here at Christmas. What can I do? Can I go and find a shelter and go and volunteer and whatever? And bad me, I didn't take it beyond that. I did a little bit of exploring online, but I couldn't find, any opportunities. And that's simply because there isn't somebody out there saying, here's all the volunteer opportunities for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, love that idea. So I'd like to hear from my audience, who is doing this? Who has volunteer opportunities on their websites? And if you haven't, why not go out and look? And it could be something as simple as you were saying, Vanessa, picking up garbage. Joining an initiative to clear rubbish off a beach, something like that. If you're on a beach vacation, don't just go onto Facebook and complain about the garbage on the beach. Do something about it, and then let your guests know that they can do these things. So that is just such a great opportunity. So lastly, what advice do you have for property managers and owners who want to make their short-term rentals more sustainable, even if they haven't yet met the Sustonica criteria? What would they do?
Well, I think studying the criteria will give them lots of advice. And then there's also a very good website, in fact, headed by Bob Gardner, called envirorental.com. And there is lots and lots of information about starting your sustainability journey. Very simple things, as I said, that you can do. So I would advise getting educated, really, and hopefully, I think Bob and I have really looked at making it easy, because it is a complicated world. It took me a year and a half to bring this out and to make sense out of it. And so I think we both really wanted it to be approachable. And so his website and ours we clearly lay it out. We clearly lay it out for everyone what they can do. I would advise going on both. Yeah.
Well, as I said, I did it. I took the test and was very happy with my results. I was actually looking at my own home because I don't have a rental at the moment, and I don't have a property management company anymore. So, but I would advocate everybody goes to Sustonica and checks it out and does that test. And so for the accreditation, what's the cost, Vanessa?
So it's €40 per property, and the process is all automated. So you register. You have, if you're a property manager, and there are certain things that you won't know about the property, so there will be a link that you can send the owner, a very quick form that they can fill in to find out if they have renewable energy, for example. You might not be aware of that, or a heat pump. So there's a very easy way to forward certain questions to the owner, and the rest of the things you can do yourself as a property manager. The last step, so there's 2 steps really, but the last step is that you need to go to the property and take photos for us. So the proof that we're after, the proofs that we're after.
Mm-hmm.
And this is geolocated, so you can't cheat. And with that, if you pass the 20%, we validate the information that we get. And if you pass the 20%, then you get your badge.
And what does the badge consist of?
So the badge is you have an online space that you can chat, where you have the picture of your badge that you can download as well, and you have a sort of type certificate page on A4 that you can print, and we very much encourage you to print it and put it in your vacation rentals to show your guests that you're taking it seriously, and that's it. You can put it on your website. And soon you'll be able to appear in some of the filters of the OTAs.
Okay, that is excellent. I'd love to hear from anybody who has got their badge or is claiming their badge, and over time to find out if this is making a difference. Clearly, it's making a difference environmentally, but of course, we all want to get the other benefits as well. But of course, that comes from advertising what you're doing. Once you've got that badge, don't hide it at the bottom of your website. Make it front and center at the top on your homepage, and let us know how that goes. Vanessa, it's been just a blast to talk to you. Can't wait to see you in Barcelona in a couple of weeks.
Same for me.
And how is Barcelona, by the way?
It's sunny and gorgeous.
Well, I'm quite sure it's going to be still sunny and gorgeous on the week of May the 15th.
Even more sunny.
Even more sunny. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I wish you all the best with Sustonica. We will catch up again in a year or so and see where you're going. And I know with the success of all your past ventures, this is going to be equally successful.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much for having me.